The Canadian singer-songwriter Lights has a new album out. This one is called Little Machines. Lights has 1.2 million followers on Facebook. To put that into context, that's twice as much as Aphex Twin. That's twice as much as TV on the Radio or Animal Collective. A lot of the big bands that we see making music, even the most popular ones, have half as many likes, which is fine. But to me, the most interesting thing about this is that Lights isn't really like a top 40 radio hit either. So it's unusual to find a musician this popular who has really avoided the top 40 radio and also avoided, you know, kind of like the pitchfork or stuffy music criticism scene as well. And I think that this is due to Lights' reliance on the internet. She shares a lot of stuff with her fans. She interacts a lot with her fans. She's very charismatic. She's a very likable person. And hey, what do you know? She writes good music too. It almost feels like Lights is beyond reproach. It doesn't really matter what any kind of music reviewer says. If you are a fan of Lights, you're probably going to buy Little Machines, right? So if the critics say that this album sucks, you'll probably still give it a chance. If the critics say that this album is awesome, you'll probably also still give it a chance. So I guess, what does that mean I'm doing here? I guess what I'm doing is I'm talking to the people who are a little bit like me and a little bit less familiar with Lights. Lights, like I said, is a singer-songwriter. She really specializes in electronic pop. So a lot of pop that incorporates synthesizers and drum machines, some organic analog instrumentation, but really thrives in this very well-produced digital atmosphere. I think a good comparison might be Metric's last album, Synthetica. That same kind of sound on some of those more digital tracks. She has a voice very similar to Emily Haines. Lights is punchy, she's concise, she writes very well constructed, very well arranged pop tunes that are just enjoyable. Whenever you have them on, it's hard to really complain about them because it's so affable, I guess. I think affable is probably a good way to describe this music. However, my problem with Little Machines is this. Lights has a habit of releasing acoustic versions of her material, and I often find that these acoustic versions are a little bit more interesting than what she actually puts on her normal studio albums. And the reason why is because I think that whenever Lights has this overproduced music backdrop, it really takes away from some of the emotion. It really puts her as a singer and as a lyricist kind of in another room from what her music is doing. A lot of her electronic arrangements don't really feel like they have any emotion to them. They're very glossy, they're very straightforward, and Lights is usually singing about something that's very melancholy or something about personal loss or redemption, and the music never really does that justice. It never really jives or gels in a way conducive to really making one cohesive product. But I think that with her acoustic sounds, she's able to actually achieve that stuff, and her voice and her lyrics really go better with that stuff. And I guess what I've been waiting on is for her to really incorporate some of the stuff that she does with acoustics with some of the stuff that she does with electronics. I think that would be fantastic, because you would no longer have that distance between the music and the lyrics. While this record is on, I enjoyed myself. I didn't really find myself coming back to revisit it. There aren't enough songs that carry hooks the same way that will bring you back to the album or make you want to repeat the song immediately after it's finished. Now there are a few songs on here. Up We Go, which was the first single off this album, is very good. Muscle Memory is also a lot of fun as well. But I think that the best track on here is the last track, From All Sides. And this is a song where I think that Lights does change her music style just slightly so that her arrangement matches her lyrical content. This backdrop of electronic music is a little bit darker, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit brooding, and that matches her lyrics and really creates like a song that has a consistent theme and a consistent mood to it. And I thought that song is fantastic, and I really wish that she would move a little bit more in that direction. At the end of the day, I think that it boils down to this. If you are not a Lights fan, you can probably skip on this one. If you haven't heard of Lights, you know, I'd probably honestly suggest listening to Metric's last album before you go into this one. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'd give this probably a 5.5 out of 10. Thought it was okay. If you thought this review was helpful, please like it, or subscribe to this channel, or even better yet, check out earbuddy.net for more music reviews like this one.